So, there has been a patch regarding ethereal knives, and that includes some distance fix and triple fix and whatever. However, it doesn't fix the returning. So at this point, we probably have to assume that the normal version of ethereal knives is not supposed to be returning. There's a huge debate on the forum. I don't want to get into it really. It revolves around dissipating and not dissipating, and people fighting over essentially flavor text or whatever, but it might be one of them, like similar to Freezing Pulse or Eye of Winter or whatever, and it just doesn't mention the dissipating, which is fine, whatever. Let's just assume it doesn't return, and this is intentional, and this will not change. So what does this mean? I hopped on standard real quick to have a little bit of a look here. Like, if you put in the normal ethereal knives now, it kind of behaves as before. It just doesn't return. That's the difference, but we have the nice spread again, we have the range again. So that seems to be actually fixed and seems to be working, and also the animation is correct anymore. There, again, right? So this is what we wanted, right? This is the baseline that we wanted. We lost a little bit of projectile speed, but is kind of fine, has a wide spread. So the difference between those, or basically the other one is still the same, right? This is the lingering blade one. And people could assume, I mean, if this one is returning, you could just use this one. And major difference here between the two, because they are very similar actually. This one, the ethereal knives one, doesn't go as far because it doesn't have, the lingering blade one doesn't go that far because it doesn't have this inherent, which is not mentioned on this. Because ethereal knives, the normal one, has like if you look closely, not all of them going as far, like the same distance. That's because it has an inherent variance in projectile speed. And that's not present on the ethereal, the lingering blade version here of EK. So that's one difference. So you lose a lot of inherent variance projectile speed there. That's a difference. The other big one is the projectiles here. Like this one has a baseline of 13 plus 2 from quality. This one has a baseline 8 plus 2. And that makes a huge difference, honestly, because the normal one with like 15 projectiles, or actually 16, should be 16. Why is this not 16? I have one on the tree. This is 10, goes to 11. So yeah, I don't know, maybe the text is not updating or this is bugged as well, but who cares? Doesn't matter at this point. Let's assume these are 15 or 16 projectiles. You get a really big arc. That's number one. And you have like, how many do you have now? 11. So your arc is way smaller, like significantly smaller. And that makes a huge difference in clear, obviously. You can compensate probably a little bit for that by getting like more projectile speed somehow. I'm just gonna do this on the tree right now. So basically, at least it goes further, right? It's still returning, but the arc doesn't really change. Another thing that is like quite a difference, honestly, if I put on the Nimbus and use the normal EK, right? Because, I mean, EK doesn't shotgun, right? So you don't need to hit a single monster with more than one of your projectiles. But since Nimbus fires in like every direction, it is rather random. And if you, I don't know, if you take, I don't know, the waypoint here as an enemy, kind of, like not every cast is going to actually send a projectile through the specific enemy. And this is with like 15 to 16 projectiles. And if you use the new one, then the chance of actually hitting that enemy with every cast lowers significantly. So there's definitely a huge DPS loss. Also in clear, it's quite a loss in terms of, are you actually hitting the random packs like somewhere around you? Like with the more projectile speed, like in terms of like range, it's kind of fine. We can probably compensate there, but in terms of clear and single target, it's not that great, to be fair. I mean, if you look at it in a map real quick, so we just can have like dunes is probably fine. So something that has like, doesn't have walls and everything. Like, just in terms, it's just about, are we hitting anything, right? I mean, the chances are, it's like okay with additional projectile speed in terms of clearing, like this monster, for example, like bigger ones, the chance is just lower to hit it. Like this would be what we are stuck with if we swap to a Nimbus and already have invested into projectile speed. That would be roughly the gameplay. It's not so much about the character or the specific damage right now. Because if you swap to a Nimbus, you have a lot of damage anyway. So it doesn't really matter. But you need to hit enemies. So this might be roughly the gameplay that you would get in an endgame version. And yeah, it's a bit questionable if it's worth it to, you know, invest into that much into a skill that's got gutted so much for no reason. Like for example, single target here in terms of hitting him. Not so much about the damage right now, because I don't have an actual Nimbus setup. I mean, you're still hitting a bit. I don't know. It's just the spread isn't. I mean, you're mostly hitting all directions. Maybe you can get some more projectiles somewhere to kind of fix it. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not fully convinced. A different thing also that makes the Lingering Blades version significantly weaker is the following. Some people have already noticed it. Like, if we just for a second remove Nimbus and do the return thing, just clear this off a little bit. So, Lingering Blades, essentially, it fires downwards. Like, it didn't change with this patch, it has been the entire time. So basically, your projectiles go out, right, and then they hit the ground here. And you already notice some go a little bit further, and that's because of terrain. Like, the ground basically makes a huge difference. And sometimes you have obstacles like this rim here. I don't know if you can see this. This is slightly higher. And you end up with this crazy thing like this. You can see just a few projectiles even go through because all of them are getting stuck on this specific edge here. Same here. I mean, this is like the worst case edge that even exists in the game. Most other pebbles and uneven stuff don't matter too much. Like here, for example, that's like really bad there. One of the reasons why this doesn't matter too much is, remember, Ethereal doesn't shotgun. So only one single blade needs to hit the enemy going out, and one single blade needs to hit the enemy going back, and that's already your full damage, right? You cannot hit the same enemy with one cast more than once. So in most cases, it doesn't really matter, but in some extreme cases, you might end up, right, not hitting an enemy at all twice, just once, because it gets stuck on terrain. So that isn't all that great either, and that's made actually significantly worse, again, with Nimbus. Because on Nimbus, if the enemy is like standing up here, or basically, let's say the enemy is standing up here, you have significantly less chance to hit him in the first place with one of your projectiles, and if that one projectile doesn't return, you just miss out on the second hit. So that's like an additional problem that's less prominent if you don't use Nimbus and you don't have the worst case, right? Like if you fire that many projectiles, one of them is probably going to return outside of extreme cases like this. But with Nimbus, if there's like one projectile or one or two hitting this one enemy, if it would be standing here, that one doesn't return, then you're missing out. So depends also a bit on the arenas and whatever bossing you're actually doing. So yeah, I don't really have a conclusion on this yet. Feels kind of dead to me. It's fine for like outside of Nimbus, like an early version, like we are in right now. If you like the one I have in the league right now, this is fine. It's more like a Frostblades vibe. It doesn't have that huge amount of projectile speed. That's like kind of okay. It's fine for clearing, but actually upgrading the character and investing heavily towards a Nimbus version, I don't think I would do that right now. It seems a little bit of a waste of currency, so it might be fine to actually stop at the phase 4 thing that I put into the guide, which isn't too much investment. Have a character that can clear nice, it's all fine, but going further, it might not be the best idea, to be fair. I don't know, I'm gonna think about that, and I'm gonna hope that GGG just posts, you know, just a little post in the like 10-page thread in the support forum. They could just say if it's intended or not, you know, and it would just end discussion and people could move on with their lives, but they don't, right? They make this huge patch and don't even mention the main, like the topic of the thread is it doesn't return, and they just refuse to say anything about it. Probably they're busy fixing their stupid link mechanic. I don't know, slightly salty, sorry. Bye.